So, myself, Adesh, I'm a working as a cloud data engineer, having a 6+ years into the complete IT and the data domain. So, throughout my career, like I used to work with the different domains like ERP and the banking. So, currently, I was being part of pharmaceutical. So for these clients, so there are a number of clients who are using the different domains. Based on the domains, like we were providing the different kinds of analytics. So we data. If I talk about the data, so the data is a very crucial part for every organizations to track their business basically. So the data can be anything. So because nowadays, like you can see, all the systems, the complete systems are generating the data. So the with the low latency. So what is the latency basically? So if you take a sensor, if I talk about the real-time cars, the self-driven cars. So those sensors are emitting the data. So for every seconds, there is a million bytes of data is coming out. So for we have to analyze those sensors data and make a decisions using the different ML algorithms or the AI algorithms. So I'm not talking about the AI as of now. So because this particular course is only focusing about the data analytics and the engineering, because this is the part of data science. So if the data science wants data scientist needs to analysis or performing any ML algorithm or forecasting something, like they needs the cleansing data wrangling data should be wrangled, and the clean data should be available for them to perform analysis. So where exactly the data engineers comes into the picture, right? So let me just quickly share my screen. So this particular content is basically focusing about the cloud, especially into the AWS only. So because nowadays, like you can see, the people are migrating their databases, on-premise databases, to the cloud. So what is on-premise database? So the database which is hosts in the uh, local servers. Let's say I wanted to use a particular database, a particular configuration database as required. So I can raise a request to the Oracle or any database providers. So monthly I have to pay something and then get the servers to my office or on-premise centers. So instead of that, like the cloud is offering, so in the one-click go or on one-click go, you can just create your database, whatever the requirements you have and whatever the CPU computation and the storage you want, you can just give those configurations and create within the seconds. So, and also there is a replication factors and the security, and there are a lot of things the cloud has. So that's why the people are moving to the cloud. So their on-premise databases data to the cloud. So for that, like we have AWS is offering the various services, that is the computation and networking and also storage services, different storage services it is offering. Okay, let me just talk about the the main what are the things you are going to be learn in this particular course. So that is the data engineering concepts. First of all, like what is complete, we can talk about the complete data engineering ecosystem. So what is data, also what kind of operations you are going to be doing the data engineering, whether it's a big data ecosystems or the data which is into the different source systems, because let's say there are different file systems, as you know. So let me just write something. So there are different extensions of files you have, right? So that is, one is CSV, let's say Excel, so JSON, and also Paraquet, so ORC. These are the different file systems. There are a number of file systems. At the same time, like we have the different relational databases as well. So we have the RDBMS with us and also NoSQL databases. So what is RDBMS? So the RDBMS are the relational databases, like where we can store the structured data only. So what is meant by the structured data? So the data has some structures in the form of rows and columns, right? So those are the RDBMS. NoSQL database is it's a semi-structured data. So it has some JSON. I hope you guys know about the JSON data. Let me just go. So this is the JSON data basically. So it has been stored into the key value page. So this is a semi-structured data. So that can be stored into the NoSQL database, right? So The source system may be anything. So we can have the data coming from the different APIs. So this is one of the particular API. Let me just put it into the one browser and just hitting this API. This is my API. I'm just hitting this API. So I'm just getting this kind of data. So the data basically there are three types of data we are going to be handling in the real time. That is one is structured and semi-structured and unstructured. So you guys know now what is structured and semi-structured. So mostly we are not going to be deals with the unstructured data. So unstructured data can be in the form of audio visuals or the video files or the audio files. So those kind of the flat files. So those things we are not going to be deals with as of now. So mostly we were focusing on the structured and the semi-structured. So let me just go back to the course content. Yeah. So fetching a data from an external REST API. So as you can see, this is my REST API. So I'm just getting the data from here. So whenever some new data is coming in into this particular API, it can be add to the this particular object. That is a key value page. So as you can just see, we are also going to be fetching the data from external APIs, like FTP servers, different databases. Let me just go. What is you? I hope you guys know about the databases. So this is one of the relational databases. Let me just query the one data, so you can just. So it is a relational database. As you know, guys, like the relational database can stores the structured data. So that is in the form of rows and columns. As you can just see, so it is completely a structured data. It's in the form of rows and columns. Right. So that is a database. Ingesting the data from the databases and also data lakes. Going forward, I can talk. So the data lake is a storage service from AWS. The service names are the S3 and Athena. Okay. So ETL. So this is one of the major part. It will plays a crucial role in every data engineering. So what is ETL? Let me just talk about the ETL now. So ETL. So what exactly ETL stands for? Extract, transform, and then load. Right. So extracting, what is extracting? So as I told you earlier, so the data is generating into the different systems, that is different file formats, that is RDBMS, NoSQL databases, or relational databases, or the flat files, anything. So the data can be stored into the anything. So what we are trying to do, so extracting that particular data and transforming the data. What is transformations? Let's say suppose I have just take some basic table. So ID name and let's say department and the salary, right? So let's say ID is 101, some XYZ. So department, let's say some sales department, something 1 lakh. Okay, 102. So instead of this particular name, let's say there is some null value has been entered. Okay, so here also it could be a null value, and this could be a similarly 103 some yx, and this is some HR related department, and it could be a null value. So this is the source data is capturing because it's a raw data. So what is a raw data? So it is directly coming from the business. So maybe that is coming from the different APIs. This information is captured by the system, any system, that is a ERP system or any database. So the user entering some is details. So you can just forget some details or you can ignore some details and saving it. So those raw data can be stored into the source system. So let's say this is my raw data. It has some null values and also some information is available and some information is not available. So what I'm doing, I'm just doing a transformation. So like once I extract this data from anything, let's say you can just take it as a relational data. I'm just querying this data and I'm just seeing this data. So there are some null values and there is some noise is available in the data. So what I need to do perform what I need to perform. So basically a transformation is required. So let's say wherever the null values it has, let's say I can just observe this particular record. So this ID is a 102. We do not have name, we do not have department, and also salary we have. So this particular record doesn't making any sense to the business, right? So what I can just do, I can just remove this particular record as there is no information is available, sufficient information is not available in this particular row. So coming to the third row, you can just see I have some values and but some values are null. So I have the name and the department I have. So salary is not available. So what I can just take, let's say I can take the average salary of this particular uh, uh, table. So average, there is a number of ways to handles the null data. So but that's where the transformation is required. Basically. So let's say some unwanted column. So some comments so that comments can be cannot be useful to perform some analytics. Let's say some comments, sales, so anything that could be anything. So this is not required. I can just drop this column because this particular column cannot be useful to perform some any analysis. So that those unwanted columns removing calculating some extra columns. Let's say department I have and salary I have. Let's say I'm just going to be increase the salary of 10% for every 6 months, right? So salary increment. So I wanted to create a new column that is a salary increment. I just need to perform the some operation. So let's say salary 10,000 and I'm just going to be write some query salary. So it should be going to be increase at 10%. So multiplying into 10%. So some calculations. This is also this is sample calculations, but in real time, like there could be a different based on your business use cases. Like there could be multiple fields you should be calculated from the existing fields, right? So this is a transformation basically. So once you have transformed the data, the data as expected that your business wants, and then you are loading the data to the target. So the target should be always a data warehouse. Okay. So this is your source. Source contains a raw data. So you are extracting it from the source and transforming the data and loading into the your data warehouse. That is your target. So the target might be anything. So depends on your business use. Let me just go back to here. So creating the glue ETL jobs. So the ETL jobs are that is the every time it is running whenever some new source data has been coming here basically. Let's say I have 10 files in the source system today. So maybe tomorrow those two files has been increased. Let's say 12 files has been ingested. So I have to take those files, I have to move those files to the transform layer, and then once it has been transformed, I have to load to the target. So for the entire thing, we are calling it as a pipeline, a data pipeline. We are calling a data pipeline. What is a pipeline? So there is a movement in the data from one layer to other layer. So in this particular layers, so there is a different operations are occurring. Let's say extracting the data means we were connecting to the source system and validating the source connection and pulling the records, whatever the you have required. So those things you are, let's say 10 tables you have, but your business needs to interested in the 4 tables. You're only extracting, filtering those 4 tables and performing the business logics on top of it. That is the transformations and loading the data. So this is the we can call it as the entire pipeline. So that's why like we were calling it as a data pipe, right? So as I told you, transforming data into the Parquet formats. Uh, so there's a different file systems we are going to be seeing in the cloud, right? So majorly like the technologies, if I'm talking about to learn this particular data engineering. So mainly the SQL we have to focus on. So any RDBMS, like we have to, because every data points can be stored into the relational database or any database. You might want to communicate to the database to pull the informations whatever you require. So there is a different operations, create tables and dropping save tables. So these are the DDL commands. So once we were going to the DML commands, so aggregate functions and constraints, joins. So what is joins basically? So joins are required to combine the data from the multiple tables. So just going forward, we can just discuss more about on this. What is DDLs and the DMLs and how handling the duplicates, date functions, and views and store procedures. So the entire SQL basically. So row numbers, aggregate functions, and also different grouping operations we have in the SQL. So this is, let me just show you the database. Let's say, so this is your database, guys. So once you are expanding the databases, as you can just see, these are the different databases. Let me just open the Amazon database. So when I open the database, so the database contains the tables. So you just go to the this particular database. So this particular tables contains the rows and columns, as you know. So let me just expand the columns. You can just see ID and name has been present in this particular table. Let me just open the employees table. So it contains the columns as first name and last name and gender and city. Right. So databases, inside the database, we have the multiple tables, but the tables contains the columns. So this is the hierarchy inside the database. So you have to write the multiple queries. Like let's say you can just see this query particular. So don't worry about if you are not understanding. So, but still you can just see when I'm what I'm doing. Just understand here. Let me just keep the product IDs. So this is my inner query. So don't worry, guys. Like if you are not understanding. So let me just run the inner query now. So what it is taking, so a distinct product IDs means a unique product IDs it is pulling from this particular table. So where sales date between this particular date. Let me just run the two queries. So this is your original query. So I'm just this is the query. This is the original table. So out of this original table, so what I'm doing here, so product IDs I'm pulling it, right? So what it is doing, so select distinct product IDs. So we have the product IDs 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the distinct product IDs we have. So where sale date between these two, in between these two dates. So 2021, 1 and 31st, right? So and monthly sales is greater than 10, right? So we have the sales. So it should be a greater than 10 and less than 10 we have. So but 192 you could see, observe. So this is 1. Right. So this is the one product ID. So it falls under this particular date, right? 2021 0115. So it is not falls under the greater than. So we can eliminate this one. So but this product one, so you can just say ID two. So that is falls under 2022 0 to 20 because it is in between these particular dates, and also it should satisfying the and condition as well. Monthly sales is greater than 11. So that's why it has been came. So second also could see this is 15. So but all other things are less than 10, so which I'm not interested. So only monthly sales which are greater than 10. So that's why they are eliminated and pulling this record. I hope you guys are don't worry. So if you are not understand as well. So this is how the business queries could be basically. So this is how the business requirement will come. So because the business people wants to see this only the sales which are greater than average sales or some specific dates they wanted to pull the information. So this is how it could be. Because this could be a million rows of table in the real time. So out of these particular million rows of records, you have to put some filters based on the business needs, and also you have to write a query. You should be in the position of writing a query. So once you are done with SQL, so I'm also giving the business cases. Daily we can solve the multiple business cases, and I can give the assignments as well. So until you get a good understanding and you should be in the position of writing a good complex SQL queries. Okay, so that is about the SQL. So Python. So as you guys know, like the Python is nowadays like everywhere. So it should be in multiple, not only data science. It should be into the web developments or the application development, network and security. So automation. Python is in automation and robotics, machine learning, data, all data fields, all data science. So even ChatGPT is using complete Python only, ML algorithms. So as we know, like we can start the Python from the basic, how the different the basic concepts, loops, and the data types and different functions, how the functions can be working in Python. Then later we can move to the data and core data analytics using Python. So there are different libraries the Python is offering to manipulate the data or cleansing the data. So those core libraries we can discuss once we have completed the uh, basic programming in Python. Right. So these are the little more hierarchy about the NumPy and libraries, the pandas, what pandas can do. So iteration and sorting, while working with text data. We can load the every data file extensions as I told you earlier. So Parquet, CSV, or any file. Once you have loaded to the date, once you have loaded the data file in Pandas, so how you are going to be work with, how you are going to cleanse the data, how you are data munching, data wrangling, how you can perform the analysis. So those handling the missing data, aggregate functions, grouping, merge, concatenation. So everything is going to be comes under the data transformations only. So for the data transformations, the pandas is the very core library in Python is offering. So we can use the multiple features. We can see the multiple features in pandas to handles the data. Right. So JDBC driver connections, handling SQL from Python. So you can also even connect to a database from Python to pull the information. So let's say you can just see, so I have the multiple databases, right? So I can connect to this particular database using these credentials, server name and so there are some parameters I can discuss later. So using these parameters, I can connect to the this particular database in Python, right? In Python, you can just pull the informations from the data tables and do the whatever the required transformations or the required tables you wanted to. So everything you can just pull out. So key features of pandas: slicing, the indexing, pivoting dates, data alignment, um, tools for loading the data into the memory data objects. So everything that comes under the pandas. So, and the finally, we can sort out some data engineering projects using the cloud, where you can give the access to the cloud environment. So that is in AWS. So the all things you can just read it out. So IAM users, let me just introduction to AWS and importance in data engineering. How AWS is impacting. What are the different essential service we have inside AWS that is specially for data engineering, right? Those things we can discuss about. And then later, data engineering leveraging AWS analytics features. So inside the AWS, for doing engineering or analytics work inside the AWS, like what are the tools we have and how we can leverage them to perform the analytics. So and then understanding of AWS S3 for cloud database storage. So as I told you, so in the cloud we have the multiple features like storage, computation, and security, IoT. It has multiple features. The data storage, like S3 is one of the data storage, how we are going to be using. And then IAM. So what is IAM? Identity access management user groups. Let's say suppose I have a database that present in the cloud. So let's say my team wants to use that particular database, but other teams do not use my database. So in that particular cases, how I can create the users and give the set of permissions to them, only read only access, how you are going to be give. Let's say if I give the full control on the database to the developer, so he might drop the database. So in that particular case, that would be di- difficult to the business or the to maintain the data. So so it completes the handles the security and also the user permission level. So let's say as a developer, as an intern, so how much permissions he need basically. So it will restrict the permissions to the particular database. Not only particular database, it can it might be any service. That thing we can call it as a role based access. And then later we can move to the data pipelines. There is a glue is an complete ETL service. Um, as I told you, this is a ETL operation, so extract and transformation and load the jobs. So and then later we can discuss the Kinesis. It's a real-time data capturing from the sensors that we are going to be seeing. And then Redshift, it's a data warehouse. As I discussed you, like once you are extract and transform the data and you are loading to the Redshift, it is a data warehouse service from the AWS. So and then AWS Lambda, it's a serverless function that we're going to see. And Athena to query the data from the different source systems like S3 or any other databases as well. So yeah. Yes. So how we are going to be using Python inside the AWS to write some to build the ETL operations. So, but doing a because every transformation required a programming language only. So once you are extracting the data, you have to transform it because Python has the more flexibility to transform the data. As I told you in the pandas, we have seen the multiple services or multiple features, right? So how we are going to be leverage these pandas in the AWS to build a ETL pipeline. That we are going to be seeing. Not only Python, we can also write a SQL queries, complex SQL queries, PySpark operations. We can see. So those things we are going to be seeing, right? So this is about the complete prerequisites. So just ignore the prerequisites. Everyone can learn this particular course, not only specific to the technical. So the people who wants to migrate from not migrate, switch their career from different different domains to the data engineering. So that should be those are the welcome, and the new joiners, the people just passed out from this recent passed out. So this is the very demanded, on-demanded course in the market. Like you can just go and search the jobs in Naukri or LinkedIn anywhere. So is a cloud data engineer having the much demand in the nowadays because the people are migrating to the cloud from the on-premise to the cloud. So they need the more engineers like who knows the AWS and the on-premise at the same time. So because you have to leverage the AWS services and you have to bring the data from the different on-premise to the cloud as a cleansing. So this is any one of the clouds. So, but majorly the people are asking AWS because AWS is offering a vast amount of services. At the same time, it could be have the much scalability. So whenever you are not using a data, it's like a pay as you go. Or let's say I have created one data, the one EC2 machine. So EC2 is a elastic computing machine. It's like a machine basically. It's a, you can create the Windows machine or Linux machine, anything. So whenever I want, I can use. So then after like it will automatically terminates. Again, when I come back and log in it, and I can enable the machine. So when you're using, let's say I have using 10 minutes per day, only those 10 minutes they will charge us. So that is the scalability. Whenever you can just need, you can just upgrade it. Whenever you do not require the, let's say I'm just configured initially a 5 GB of RAM, but later point of time I do not need the 5 GB RAM. I just need only the 2 GB RAM. Whenever I want, I can just decrease it, customize basically. So that's where the cost also affects. That's where the people are migrating to the cloud due to the data security and more performance and also scalability. There are a number of reasons we can just discuss later point of like once we deeply involve into the data engineering side. Yeah, mostly this is all about the data engineering guys. Like you have any questions or any concerns or any if you wanted to give me some mileage, so just please feel free to go ahead.
Hi, this is Pranav
Mm.
here.
Yeah, Pranav. Yeah. Mm.
So this is like AWS duration, total duration of the course is 40 hours, right? As mentioned in the document.
It's 40, yeah, yeah. It's a 40
Okay.
hours. Yeah, it might be extend for 5 to 10 hours. Maybe I've not completely the duration of time I've not designed it. So I need to look into it because there is a vast amount of services we were going to be handled. So maybe it will take extend for 5 to 10 hours.
Okay. Like
Maybe.
how many days we are going to concentrate on this AWS data engineering and ETL glue? What's the hours spent for this one?
Uh, so because
Uh,
we as a data engineer, like we are entirely throughout the course, we were going to be deals with the ETL because as a
okay.
data engineer like you must work with ETL pipelines only how you're going to be create a data pipelines and how you are automate it whenever the new file is inserted in the source how your pipeline is bringing it and transforming it. So the entire course should be on the we were talking about the ETL only, but while you're doing the ETL operations, so you just need the basic programming and the database communication. So that will take maybe a sequel can take 10 to 12 days majorly.
Okay. Okay.
Then after Python will take maybe a 10 to 12 days, same days. Then after like we were going to be build the real-time pipelines in the cloud. That is the ETL pipeline. So ETL pipelines might take 15 days, 10 to 15 days. Yeah. It's overall
Okay.
one.
So I understand that the ETL pipelines that is through ETL glue. Am I correct?
ETL Glue. Yeah, Glue is one of the ETL service from the AWS. So using Glue, we can build the pipelines.
Okay.
So not only Glue, so Glue is especially for ETL. So for storage services, we have S3 and DynamoDB, and then relational different RDSs we have. Uh,
Okay.
the
Uh,
functions you create. There's a Lambda called it's a serverless function, so where you can just run some Python script that will automatically trigger based on some trigger event.
okay.
So there are, yeah, 7 to 8 services, especially for data engineering. So those we are.
And how to avail the services through online, like in order to make it lab practice? So do we need to pay anything for this one,
So basically, I need to check with the.
or else any free, there may be a chance of getting free accounts for 1 month or
Yeah,
something?
you have, yeah, yeah. We have free tier account. The AWS is offering, so it's for 1 year. So, but there
Okay.
is some limitations. So while using the service, let's say I'm just
Mhm.
using the Lambda, so it has
Mhm.
some restrictions. Not restrictions basically. So you can use the entire features, but they have some limits. Let's say I cannot run the Lambda for 10 minutes in a free tier account. But
Okay.
if you have an enterprise account, you can just run up to 30 minutes like that basically. So there is some time restrictions, but the features should be the same for enterprise and the the free tier account. You can just absolutely you can just use it for your practice, the free tier account. I'll guide you guys how you can create the free tier account, and let me just think about it. Like I can give the real time, not the enterprise account or the free tier accounts. So later point we can see. But definitely you guys should have the AWS console access.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, think no. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? So, any questions or any, feel free to ask me. Do not worry. Do not hesitate.
So going forward also, this class continues with the same timings, or is any changes in the timings?
I've not. We are not decided the timings. So maybe um, the team can intimate the timings about the timing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right.
So, like, how many folks are from non-IT background here? May know just um and who having the experience already into the IT, and who are the freshers here? Can I know, guys?
Yeah, I'm Satish Manai. I'm
Yeah.
having
Yes.
12 years experience, 12 years experience in a completely IT background.
Okay.
Um, I'm into that EMC storage, backend
MC
storage.
storage.
Uh,
Okay, nice.
yeah,
Okay. So currently, any technological wise, like, do you have any experience in any technologies?
it's a technology for SAN storage.
SAN storage. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Suresh. Good to hear. So yeah, as you guys know, like this is the new field for you guys. So, but definitely because, but you can ask me questions because if any questions, any silly questions, that is also fine. So I'm here to help you. If you have any questions, so just feel free to ask. So this course is not only for IT folks, so this is also can the people from non-IT also can start digging into learning. So because everything from the scratch itself, so any programming or database communication, so anything is from scratch. So we can just put some efforts to throughout this course, so then you probably
Sir,
get a
what's
good
your name, sir?
understanding. Sorry,
May I know your name, sir?
yeah, my name is Adarsh.
Ah,
Adarsh.
Adarsh. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
From?
So I'm from Hyderabad.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sir, thank you, sir. I am Krishna Mohan Bhugta from Vishakhapatnam.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So,
yeah. Sir, okay, that okay, that AWS Kinesis and Athena and
Hmm.
Redshift. Okay, these will be covered in this program.
Yeah, this should be covered in the program. So as you, if you
Okay,
could see my screen, so let me just highlight those keywords in this particular document.
okay.
Um,
Is
the
it
Athena
shareable
usage.
to me?
Definitely. So this is Athena way we are covering, and
Okay,
also the one you have said the Kinesis, right? So AWS Kinesis coming from here,
okay.
and then AWS Glue here.
Oh, sir, what is the Kafka, sir? Actually, that AWS Kafka also involving in the data, okay, data related services. What is that, sir?
Data.
How it is integrated? Is
No,
there
no,
any example
Kafka.
for me?
Kafka is not a service from AWS. So instead
Okay,
of Kafka replaces the Kinesis. Kafka is the on-premise big data Apache tool, Kafka. So,
okay,
but whereas come to the AWS, the Kinesis, the two services, Kafka and Kinesis perform the same function. So
okay.
basically, these are the Kinesis or the Kafka will captures the real-time data. Let's say the data is coming from the sensor. So, okay,
Streaming.
so sensors,
It's like a
it's a
streaming data.
streaming, data streaming. So those data streaming it and how we are going to be load the data and how we are performing the analysis. So on the streaming data. So
Okay, sir.
so the data can be from the different sensors. But let's say suppose the NASA. So NASA is completely so it's Chandrayaan 3. You can just take it. Let's say, but as a example. So when it hosted once it started, like it's generating the lot of data, the latitude or the longitude data, different sensors data is coming. So every second. So every milliseconds there is a bytes of data is coming.
Okay.
So how we are capturing the data and how we are doing the analysis on the streaming data. So that those things we can see it in the Kinesis.
Is there
So
any
Kinesis is
cost?
a service like it
Is
connects
there
to
any
the
cost effect, sir? Sorry, I'm disturbing.
cost. Yeah, definitely. The effective should be there. So based upon the data that you're capturing through the Kinesis.
Okay, sir. Sir,
So
one more
because since
question
it's a
from.
go ahead.
No, sir. You carry on, sir. I will ask
Yeah,
this
yeah.
after.
Yeah. So basically, since it's a pay as you go, so whenever your sensors are not producing any data, so then at that time, like you can just disable the services. Like it would be automatically disabled. So that's where you can just do the automation, the Python, the Lambda function or something. So whenever some event is happening, so let's say Lambda, you can just take it. So it's a basically based on some event, it will trigger. The function will trigger. So the event is, let's say, no data is coming. So even whenever the it will no data is coming, so immediately it will stops your Kinesis service to the Lambda. So that's how like we can do the lot of automation. Yeah. Now you can go.
Yes, sir. I got my point, sir.
Yeah. Go. Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Hi, that's Mahesh here.
Fine.
Is there any visualization tool we are discussing in this?
Okay, but as a data engineer, we mostly focus on the data side only. Later point of time, so the visualization team will come basically, but I can give the glance about the data visualization as well. So at the end of this course, maybe I can give a quick glance or 1 or 2 day quick introduction about the data analysis, because nowadays like you can just see you should focus on the one particular area, because as a data science the data scientist starts from the data engineering. Okay, so once the data is available, so the data engineers should aligns or cleanse the data, because the data is coming from the multiple source systems, right? You have to aggregate those data and put it into the one area. So that particular
Yes,
area
yes.
used by those data can be used by the data visualization team. So using they are directly connecting to your data warehouse, as I told you earlier.
Mm,
So once you have
mm.
transformed the the complete clean data can be available in the data warehouse. Okay. So the data visualization team can connect to your data warehouses and pulls the data and builds the dashboards or the widgets based on the business needs. let's say sales versus, let's say I wanted to the business wants to see the sales report in particular year. Okay. They can pull the data from my data warehouse, because that should be the complete cleansed data and the clean data is available. They can directly connect to my data warehouse, and then so they can build the sales report. Okay. So that should
Okay.
that thing should be separate from here. So once the data
Mhm.
has been analyzed, forecasting, so there is a machine learning team is there, right? So for every aspect of the importance, like the team should be vary from responsibilities to responsibilities. So as a data engineer, like you shouldn't, you must need, you need not to know about data visualizations. But if you know the data visualization, that is the added advantage. But seamlessly at the end of the task, like you should work on the only one particular area, either data engineering or pipelines or working on the data visualization. That's
Okay.
how it should be simultaneously. So that's why I'm just giving the core understanding about the cloud, building the pipelines, and how you are working with the communicating with the databases and pulling the information and transforming the data using the programming languages such as Python or Java, any something. This is a more core area basically, because everyone
Okay.
can
Okay.
depend it
Okay.
on the data, right? Data visualization.
Sir,
So that's why it's good.
uh,
Yeah, yeah. Please go
any
ahead.
brief idea? Yeah. Is there any brief idea about auto scaling? Okay, auto scaling for the RAM increasing for while running the instance. Okay, is there any option for me?
Yeah, through cloud formation templates, you can just do that. So because let's say cloud formation, so it's where you can just define the configuration. So let's say I was working on one particular sales DB. So let's say that is related to the let's say franchise one particular area. Let's say suppose a Mumbai sales database I have. Okay, so I can see the database size, like how many data tables it has, and how much configuration of the database, like everything, source information, and how much data is coming on the average data coming through the daily or weekly basis or monthly basis. Those I can analyze before configuring my instance. Okay. So then after, like based on that, like you can just uh, configure your AWS resources or AWS infrastructures to the cloud formation. So, but later point of time, let's say instead of 100 millions, I'm just getting the 200 millions per day. The latency has been increased. So at that time, like using the cloud formation, so you can just reconfigure your infrastructure and deploy it. So that's how it should be.
Is there any particular option for the RAM like that, sir?
Yeah, yeah, even RAM also, because RAM is like for doing the computation, right? So you can just increase the
I,
computation of the RAM. Yeah, definitely you can storage you can increase, and the network capacity you can increase, shuffling sizes you can increase, number of worker nodes you can increase. Number of worker nodes is nothing but a RAM only. So because each
okay,
worker
sir.
node has some capacity, some 4 core or 6 core
Worker node.
CPU
Okay, sir. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir. Worker node and instance is the so much difference are the same.
instance
Yeah.
is the combination of worker nodes.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Okay.
sir. So there is no okay in the instance so many worker loads
Yeah,
are
yeah,
there, right?
exactly. Yeah. Different
Okay, it's
worker
like a
nodes
one
are there.
type of event.
Yeah, one type of event. So the instance
Okay,
can have the multiple worker nodes. Based upon your worker loads, the instance can allocate the worker nodes to your particular task.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hi Adarsh, one more query. Uh, do you have any redundancy? If any single point failure, how you will manage for if any application is running on the server,
Mhm.
how the redundancy will be working in AWS? Is there any load
So
balancing?
so there is no such options, but we have by default. So there is a three times what I can say. So whenever your job, let's say you are building some glue job, okay, so the glue job has been failed due to some network issue or some any code issue, but it will trigger three times. So due to so without any reason, so because the reason could be might be anything, so network or your code issue or something, so it will automatically triggers three times. So after three times also, it is not your pipeline has been failed, it will stop there basically. So that's where you can just define that's where you can configure your logs. I answered your question, right? So still,
Yeah, is there some replication happening? If any data is there in one of the server, some other location, the data will be stored, right? In other data
exactly.
center, or within the data center, any replication happening, um, one location to other location. So
Hmm.
you can view the data from the source to destination. Is kind of replication is there? If, for example, if the production, if the live production is down,
Mhm.
some data will be available for other side, right? Um,
Exactly. The source systems
yeah,
we have.
that
Great. Yes.
yeah. How we will be managing for other side? Then you need to create another instance, some other data center.
No, no, no. We cannot create the other data center so that the target should be the same. So the data warehouse, let's say you can just take a Redshift. So once I will configure that a Redshift, so that will act as my target. Like whenever after transform the data or after processing it, it will seamlessly going to the data warehouse only. That is Redshift cluster only. So the same cluster it will going to do. So whenever the cluster has been down, so maybe we have the other database has been linked up to it. Basically. So that is a
Okay,
backup database we can configure. So that whenever there's some latency in the target database, like those data after processing it, it will go to the target that backup database. So again, so the once it is up, so your instance has been up, the target instance is up. So again, we are going to be give a replication from the backup database to the main instance. So that's how we can configure. So, but that we cannot configure. So the AWS itself, it will configure. Like while creating a Redshift, like it has a Redshift spectrum feature we have. So that spectrum will create a backup to the source data.
okay.
So any other questions, guys? Meena, like anyone has been joined as a fresher, just now passed out from the college and looking for this particular course. So anybody has the prior experience on the data engineering side? So in real time, so having some 1 to 2 years of experience in the data side. Anyone? Not only data engineering, any data operations.
Hi Adarsh, this is Pranay here.
Mhm.
So I work as a product batch analyst programmer on the ETL dataset side.
Okay,
So that's my experience with almost 8 years of experience.
8 years of experience. Okay, what kind of data it should be? What is the domain?
It's a banking domain. So
Okay, it's a banking domain.
majorly like all the structured data only.
Okay,
We are
all
not coming
relational
across, yes, RDB
uh,
based data only. And
RDBS
just like a
basis.
flat files and XML files.
XML and flat files you are processed. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. That is good actually. Because that thing only we can see because in every because different domains we have. Currently, I was being part of the pharma. So because they do not have the they do not have the frequent data is coming. Only the sales data because they have some molecules and they have some different drugs they are going to be sell across throughout the world. So because in each country's data, they have multiple instances. Let's say suppose in USA, like there is a different regions they have. So for
Mhm.
each region, so they have the multiple instances. Like we were as a team, as a MQ team, I was only just working on the some San Francisco instance and also New York instance. So just two areas like we were working on. As a similarly, you have the multiple teams who can take care of the different teams. That's
Okay.
how in the
So
real time you don't need
so
to use it. Okay.
So the
Yeah,
message
good.
queues are processed through which application, Kafka or something which one?
Sorry, I didn't get you, Bruno. Come
The
again.
mes the message queues, how do you process through different applications like Kafka or something like that?
Messages? I'm not.
Message
I'm sorry,
queues.
actually.
You were saying about message
Right.
queues, right? So these message queues are processed through
Yeah,
different
message
updates.
queues is processed through the Kafka only because since it's a real time, right? So you have to
Okay.
perform the analysis on the real time because the comments and the messages coming in the real time, right? So when you hosted
Mhm.
some online platform, so those can be processed by the text analytics, but we do not work on the majorly we do not work on the text analytics because
Okay.
sentiment analysis and the text analytics is majorly performed on the Twitter analysis or making some decisions on the the people's talk. So but those things can be different basically. Those areas can be different, and the one which I am talking about is different completely because we were working on the historical data that has been already generated and stored into the some data source system. But
Okay.
that is a name analytics that which you are talking about, the messages and some Twitter tweets, some real-time text is coming, and we have to perform the identify some keywords and giving some expressions. That is a sentiment analysis that you are talking about. But that is little advanced to the data engineering. So
Mhm.
that is completely built upon the NLP, natural language process. So that is again AI related stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, more
And
advanced.
you'll also cover one of the scheduling tool, right? Is it anything scheduling tool you
Yeah,
could
schedule tool. That is, there is a no specific tool when you are using AWS. So it's directly in a Glue. You can create some events. So based on some
Okay.
events, it will triggers your pipelines. And also there is a cron expressions. Let's say scheduling your pipelines using the cron. So the cron is basically you can just set up some time. Let's say 12 a.m.
Yes.
UTC. You can just define it.
Mm.
So at that particular time, so your pipeline will trigger.
Okay.
Because like first you have to identify the trends of your data source system. So let's say have some sales table. So the data is every midnight 12 o'clock it is ingesting. Okay, 12 to 12:30 is ingesting.
Mm.
So based on those trends you have to observe for a week or something, and you can just confirm it from by your source systems or source team. So then after like you can schedule your uh, pipelines based upon the source latency. That's how it would be. So some can be a triggered event based. So because like whenever some files has been ingested at the source system or S3 bucket or any source system,
Yes.
so you can just based upon the insert or update, you can just trigger your Lambda can trigger your Glue pipeline. So the Glue pipelines can process your files. That's how it would.
Okay. All right.
Any more questions, guys? So I can give the 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, just come up. Otherwise, like we can wind up the session.
My name is Rahul here.
Yeah, Rahul. Please go ahead.
So I'm good into SQL, but not good into scripting. So I do have
Okay.
a prior experience of AWS, like AWS admin and AWS application migration, application design. So, so adding up to that, will the data
Mhm.
engineering skill set will be added advantage to learn, or it is better to learn a DevOps. So I'm comparing between two, like AWS data engineering or the DevOps, which will be better suitable for my profile.
So prior you have experience with admin exposure, right? Correct me if
Right.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Admin along with that SQL. So SQL is a just like a DDL operations, or it's a DML also you are good at.
Yeah.
If you are good at a DML side, so it's completely data manipulation language from SQL. If you are good at DML, so because you have to write some different manipulations queries that are complex can be involved. Because in a DDL, so you just only perform the CRUD operations. Like as you know already, you have worked on the SQL. So
Right.
just like backupping the data or creating some databases or dropping it or something. That is a
Right.
very yeah, minimal things if I'm talking about.
Mhm.
But when it comes to this DML, so where you can just write the multiple queries and pulling the information from the multiple tables and writing the grouping operations and ranking, performing the different analytical operations you have to write. You should be right.
Okay.
So if you are good at and you have to write some logical, you should be in logical positions to write those queries. So
Okay.
both the things are fine actually. The DevOps is fine and the data engineering has been fine. So, but the
Mhm.
DevOps, I'm not sure. Like, if you have because the cloud DevOps, DevOps is again from the different from this particular area. I can't compare because the both the things are different. But the development and operations team can works with the ETL team only because once they have built the pipelines, so the DevOps team should be integrates or the deploys these pipelines using the version controls. Um, but okay, like if you are good at, if you are interested to learn the programming, so I can definitely suggest this is the very good, currently in the market, like it's a very good skill set. So even the salaries and the hikes and the, if you are switching from one company to other companies, um, so this can be a long term basically. I can say the DevOps also long term, so maybe the different tools can come up. But this should be unique because everywhere you can go. So SQL and Python is the like, butter and bread like for every data engine and transform the data. So this
Right.
should be
So
for long term. We can say. So,
so I should learn the programming language with refer to learn the data engineering, right?
yes, exactly. As already you know the SQL, so maybe programming is quite easy for you because all the data types and because
Right.
in SQL also you can just do the aggregations even in Python also while using the pandas. Same
Mhm.
operations. Pandas and the SQL
Okay.
as the both operations are re-indexing also adding in new columns or manipulation. So data casting the columns from
Okay.
one data type
Okay.
to other data type. Every operations almost pretty similar
Okay.
from these to this. Only the thing is just you have to know about some for loops, functions,
Right.
and
Right.
programming.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are the services that I should be proficient in terms of applying data engineering position? Because
Yeah.
as I mentioned, I know IAM and the few of the services which is required for data means AWS admin. In
Mhm.
terms of adding up as a data engineering position, so what would be the? Can you tell me the list of the services which will be very
So yeah,
important or mandatory?
it's mandatory for ETL operations because ETL is required as a data engineer. So that is Glue is from AWS. The Glue is one of the ETL service, so it is which is completely serverless. That should be required. And apart from that, like S3, so how you can do the versioning. S3 is a storage service again. So
Right, right.
Glue is the ETL operation, ETL service, and S3 is your storage of
So,
simple storage from AWS.
okay.
So there is a
And
working you should know and how the partitions you have to create inside the S3. So that is completely a
okay.
storage service that you have to communicate. And then apart
I
from that,
have worked on S3, but not sure about the glue. I haven't worked on glue. So
mhm.
we have to create a pipeline in glue, you mean to say, is it?
Exactly. Where you can configure your source system and then target system and the different transformation scripting that you can
Like
put it in the
Jenkins.
glue. Exactly. Yeah. So even you can schedule your pipeline inside the glue itself. No other tool is required.
Okay, okay.
So
And
that
uh, it is a database specific like a SQL Server or Oracle or no SQL data, DynamoDB or how it is.
no. The source system could be anything. Uh,
Okay,
you can make the connection for any service. Not only for relational databases, you can even configure the APIs inside the Glue and also non-relational databases that is DynamoDB and that is a NoSQL DB and
okay,
archive files you can read it. So any zip files, any flat files, any
perfect.
SFTP server files you can just read it. So any source systems you can read
Okay. The last question is, I was comparing this with the Azure Data Engineering. So how it is, stand in different position if we compare with the Azure?
Uh, so both are the similar basically. So the demand is also the similar for both AWS and the Azure. But in AWS, the services are very highlighting because of their people are migrating the databases. So the migration is very good in AWS as compared to the Azure. So because people are now just now started to, I mean, so the organizations are just now started to migrating their database to the cloud. So the
Right.
cost wise and the the features wise, the AWS is more efficient than Azure. So
Okay.
because the
Understood.
Azure also having the same services, same set of services which AWS is offering. So the
Mm-hmm.
naming convention is different, but the
Mm-hmm.
functionality is similar from AWS to the Azure. The only thing is scalability is pretty much good in AWS as compared to Azure, and
Okay.
also the migration services. We have the service called DMS. That is a very
Mm-hmm.
good migration service from the AWS. So it will do the
Yeah.
ongoing replications from your source system. So that is very good service from AWS.
Without the
So that,
downtime, I have used
yeah,
it.
without the
Yeah.
downtime.
Right.
Exactly.
I have used it. Yes. DMS is there. Data sync is there.
Yeah,
Then
data centric data pipelines we have,
data
and
pipeline is there. Right. Okay. Sounds good. All right. So the glue is the only because I have attended two, three. I have been participated into interview of AWS data engineer role. So they were
Mhm.
asking Kinesis, Event Bridge, Glue, then a few more services they have been asked. Landing pages was the different, but the related to the data, Glue, Kinesis, Event Bridge, SQS, and SNS. So these are the services they have the question they
Yeah,
had
yeah,
asked
yeah.
me.
So because
So
every particular role might be changed, but
okay.
majorly because the majorly so the glue is required because
Mhm.
SNS it's a like simple notification service like where you can just integrate this service to your pipelines. So whenever some failures has been happened to your pipeline, so it will simply send a email to your particular groups. That is the
Mhm.
only advantage from SNS. So it's not a mandatory. So it's a one-time setup, but people are generally mentioning nowadays in the job descriptions. But that is okay. We can cover it. That is not a big deal. It's a one-time setup where you can just
Okay.
put your host name and your the group which mail to be sent to it. And
Okay.
other one is what is it? Event Bridge. So Event Bridge, it is also a kind of some triggering automate the pipelines. So based on some events, you can just trigger one service from one service to other service based on some events. So that is also we can do that with Lambda as well. So we can Lambda
Mhm.
also even uh,
Right.
so based on the
Lambda.
project requirement in the architecture
Mhm.
that you have got from your business. So
Mhm.
the services might be involved, but majorly you can just see the job description. So these are the 5 to 6 services that are AWS Glue and EMR, and then
Mhm.
Lambda,
Right.
Lambda and Redshift and Athena.
Right. Right.
So these are the 5 services, and apart from this, DynamoDB. So yeah, these 5 to 6 services are the majorly mentioned.
And
So
PySpark is commonly asked in many of the interviews.
yeah,
Py.
PySpark is commonly asked because in the glue we are going to be write the PySpark scripting, Spark SQL or the PySpark.
Okay.
Usually we
Okay. Understood. So, what is the duration of this class?
this particular course we have not yet decided. So, but usually an average time is 40 hours. I have mentioned earlier. So maybe I just need to look into it because there are
Okay.
different services we were giving. So maybe I can just
And part?
we'll come back with the timing, the duration of this.
Okay. Sure. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Thank you.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for your time.